if you go to the hospital, right, and you're in there for 3 days, your maximum out of pocket was $300. You are going to ask them for a I think it's called a WB04 form. Basically, it is a detailed bill that shows what happened while you were in the hospital. You are going to bring that to me. We are going to fax that in or email that in to the hospital indemnity company. They're going to process it, and then they're going to send you a check. So if you're in there for 3 days, you're going to get a bill for $900. You show me that. We fax in the information. They're going to cut you a check for $900. You take that check and you pay your claim. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Medicare Sales Playbook. I'm your host, Dallas Keithley. I guess I'm co-host now. We've got co-host duties going on here. I'm joined again by our good buddy, Medicare Matt Smith. And guys, if you haven't noticed, we've rolled our sleeves up because you didn't roll your sleeves up. Oh, I didn't roll my sleeves up.
I'm sorry.
Boy, I don't know if we should add that. We're just going to roll with it.
We're going to roll them up now.
You guys are getting a behind-the-scenes look as Matt rolls his sleeve up because we are ready to get down to business. We've been training. You guys have been watching our training seminars, our training sessions about the basics of Medicare. And today, Matt, we want to talk about something that I believe is very, very important. At our agency, we were not doing this. We heard about this product and we started selling this product, and it added, I'm going to say the first year, it added another $50,000, $60,000 to our bottom line.
Sure.
And that's hospital indemnity plans.
Yep.
So we've got, there's several hospital indemnity companies out there, and I don't want to get into specific hospital indemnity companies. From a contracting side, because that's kind of your world and what you do. Talk about, is it important to know? It's important to know your product, but how many hospital indemnity carriers should a person have?
I think realistically, I think you get away with probably having, specifically probably having two. Two. I think two. You're going to get, as a byproduct of some other carriers, you're going to just get a hospital indemnity plan thrown into some contracts. Right. But, really thinking about two. Yeah, probably. I think two, maybe three, but two probably is a good number.
And guys, there's no right one, wrong one, anything like the ones that I have used. GTL,
yes,
Medico, Heartland National.
Yep,
those are really the big three. Probably more Heartland National than anything.
Probably.
But the concept is the same. And if you're new to hospital indemnity plans, what they are, a hospital indemnity plan is a plan that covers usually it covers the hospital stay, the ambulance ride, the emergency room visit. Some will have like a wellness check in there that gives you something. Those are really the three. And then usually an outpatient stay if a person is, an observatory stay, an observation stay.
Yeah.
If they're overnight in the hospital for observation, it'll cover that as well. But those are the big things. And it's interesting. I heard an agent say this once, and I don't know. I want to get your opinion on this. It almost is allows the person that wants the med sup but can't afford the med sup to kind of have med sup coverage. And I don't know that I agree with that.
Well, I was going to ask you if you've heard of people refer to it as a mini med sup.
Yeah, I don't like that because it can be misleading.
I agree. Well, for starters, it's not a med sup.
No.
So it is. If we even want to go down that route of probably even non-compliant to call it that, but we're not talking about that in this podcast
CMS.
Today.
No,
it's not a mini med sup, but it does. In a sense, it does help to eliminate some of those more looming, those bigger concerns.
Yeah, it's for the person, because a lot of times when I started selling them, I would hear people say, I love the Advantage plan, but I hate that hospital copay.
Sure.
I hate that big move that I could have to pay.
Yes.
Well, so here's how I started packaging it a little bit, and I'm going to get into specifics. I would say, okay, well, what if there's usually the big things that make you hit your moot, 3 or 4 big hospital stays, because usually your hospital out of pocket on Medicare Advantage plan in our area is like $350 a day for days 1 through 5.
Yeah, $1,700-$1,800 altogether.
Yeah, $1,700. So if you had 3 or 4 of those, you're going to hit your moot.
Sure.
The second one is kidney dialysis. right? If you go on dialysis, odds are you're going to hit your MOOP. And then the third big one is cancer.
Yeah.
And a lot of hospital indemnity plans. I was talking to Brandon Reed up at Heartland National. I'm like, when are you going to come out with a kidney one that would knock out that third one? But we have a cancer built rider. A lot of them do within the hospital indemnity plan. So it just gives that, it's not a med sup, but it allows that person to maybe have a little bit of the comfort without having to have the big paycheck or the big price.
Because the cost is significantly different than a med sup. I mean, you're talking $30 20, 30 a month, maybe?
Yeah, 20 to 30, depending on the age, depending on the area, stuff like that.
So let's say 30. Let's even go top. Let's even say it's $30 a month versus around here, a med sup is on the average, let's say $130. So potentially save $100.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, patch up those holes of concern that the client has with their Med Advantage plan.
Right, exactly. So I want to talk to you about why you should sell a hospital indemnity plan. We kind of touched on it. Number one, it's going to increase your bank account.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, so, I mean, we won't go into commissions and stuff like that, but it's going to add $200 to $500 depending on the amount of the sale, the size of the commission, all that stuff. $200 to $500 to your bottom line. But the big one, which I think is even more important because it adds to your bottom line, is the residual income, the retention, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about why retention is so important in Medicare.
Well, in Medicare, the game is, I mean, you know, from the agent perspective, the game is residual income. That those policies that you write, when they stay on your book, that you continue to get paid for them. And, you know, the more policies that I mean, there's study after study after study out there that says that the more policies you have on an individual, obviously, and I think there's a magic number. It seems like the last thing I saw was 3, but like, let's say, you know, the more policies you have on an individual, the stickier that client gets and the stickier they are, then you stand the chance of continuing to have that residual income, and you've served them in a way that potentially no other agent has showed them before.
Yeah, and I mean, think about this. Think about Progressive, State Farm, all the commercials, bundling. And guys, selling life insurance, I've been in homes where I could save the client $30-$40 a month on their life insurance policy, and they've got a State Farm policy, but they're like, nah, that'll mess up my bundle.
Yeah,
that'll mess up my home and auto if I take that away. And so it really does get the client to think, okay, this guy is not just my Medicare Advantage guy, he's my insurance guy.
Yes.
Right. And you mentioned the other one here that I had written down. It covers the client better.
It does.
We probably should have mentioned that one first, but it does cover the client better and just kind of takes away some of that big fear that they have out there. And so, and this is a Medicare podcast, but hospital indemnity plans are great with ACA and other things too. So I would encourage you guys, whatever you're doing, write the hospital indemnity plan.
I think you could. I think you could even just say that in general. Like it's not just Medicare. I mean, it works across the board, and to cover those things that you can kind of feel. You can kind of feel the air suck out of the room whenever you say, and your inpatient hospital copay is $350 a day for the first 5 days.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I liked everything up until then.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah. And like you said, I'm 40 something and I've got 2 hospital indemnity plans. And so I'm a big believer in them because, things are going to happen.
Sure.
Right. So now I want to talk about how to sell the hospital indemnity plan. The first thing I thought of whenever we were selling a hospital indemnity plan is to plant the seed early. Plant the thought process. If you look at the psychology of sales, there's it takes it back to all the way to ABC, right? Always be closing. I'm planting the seed early to make sure that they're thinking about buying a hospital indemnity plan early. So what I mean by that is if I'm going through and let's say I'm walking through with you, Matt, and I'm like, okay, now on the Medicare Advantage, we've got it down to, let's say we're down to the one that we think we want right now. If you go with this one, I walk them through the summary of benefits. Your primary care doctor is going to be $0. So your specialist is going to be $35. Your hospital is going to be $385 a day for days 1 through 5. Hey, Matt, by the way, I'm going to show you how to cover that here in just a little bit. There's a way that you wouldn't have to pay that. You could be reimbursed for that. Okay, so remind me.
It's fantastic.
Right? Yeah. Remind me later. I'm going to talk about that. Now, the emergency room, too, it's $90 anywhere in the world. Remind me, though, I'm going to show you how to cover. I may be able to even show you how to make a little money on that. I'm not telling you to go to the emergency room on a dull weekend, but I may show you how to. And then when I get down to the ambulance, I'm saying, look, I can cover most of that, too. Remind me of that later. And by then, they're like, what are you talking about? Right? So I'm planting that seed early so that they're already thinking about, okay, there is something else that he's going to ask me to do later to cover that. And, you said it earlier when we were getting ready for this show, it's not springing them on it at the end. What do you mean by that?
It's not, I made a car salesy joke, it's not at the very end of it where you're saying, and, to wrap it up, we have this fantastic product that maybe you've never heard of.
Yeah.
The undercover.
The undercarriage coating. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the undercover med sup.
Yeah.
No, it's planting that thought throughout the conversation. And what I love about it is, and especially the way that you've explained it, is that whenever you're planting that seed at really every one of those, I don't want to call them obstacles, but at every one of those scenarios where it is expensive or it's uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
like I know how I am, right? It's like I know when I get ready to go purchase something and I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And all of a sudden they give me a big number and I'm like, I can't get over that.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything else they say on the other side of that. But that gives you the ability for that client to hear that, remind me. Okay, now I don't have to dwell on that because I'm gonna remind him there's something else there. I think it's great. It helps them to not be scared and to refocus their attention.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing that kind of goes along with that is don't sell the zero. So many agents are like, hey, listen, I've got a plan, doesn't cost you anything.
Yep.
One, it is going to cost them something because they got to pay for their Part B, and they're going to be. And I started out doing that. Hey, listen, this doesn't cost anything. Nice. And then I'm like, okay, now Part B is $174, and they're like, oh, you told me it doesn't cost anything. Don't sell the zero.
Yes.
Sell the plan. Sell how amazing the plan is, and it is less cost. But if you go along, listen, it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The hospital indemnity plan is $30. Well, hold on. We made a killing. Another thing is that I wrote down is use dollars that are already being spent. A lot of times, so we went through 1 year and we found everybody that was on a certain plan that cost $28 a month, because ABC company last year their best plan cost $30 a month. This year they came out with a new plan. Well, instead of going in and saying, hey, we can now move you to zero, we can now repurpose that money. Not only is your Medicare Advantage plan going to have all these extra benefits, we're going to add on the hospital indemnity plan, and it's not going to cost you any more than you were already paying.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if you tell them zero, they've budgeted.
And they've spent that other $28.
Oh, yeah, it's already done. That's an extra cup and a half of Starbucks, right?
For a week.
For a week, yeah. And so, they've already spent that money. So don't sell the zero. Don't sell it on this is zero, and then try to then later come up with the other money. The other thing I wrote is eliminate the biggest concern, right?
Yes.
The hospital indemnity plan is a lifesaver on some of the biggest concerns. And we talked about it earlier. The number one reason people hit their MOOP is their hospital copay, right? The second is kidney failure. We can't cover that one. Unless you're in the hospital a lot with it, then it could help cover some of that. But then the other one is cancer. And as you know, this one hits near and dear to me. So here's what I do with a cancer rider. Now, the traditional hospital indemnity plan, the cancer rider is not built in, right? But let's say, so I'm gonna act like you're the client here, Matt.
Sure.
So your MOOP is what would a MOOP be around here?
$3,200.
$3,200. Okay. So Matt, what I would encourage you to do, I'm going to show you the hospital plan.
Okay.
This one covers 4 things. It covers your, and this is all built in. It covers your hospital stay. We've set that up to where it covers and I put them side by side. I put it like, you know me, I love the legal pad, right? So I put them side by side and I say, okay, look, here's your out of pockets for your Medicare Advantage plan. $300 a day for days 1 through 5. Your hospital indemnity plan covers $300 a day for days 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Your emergency room is $90. Your hospital indemnity plan actually covers $150. So like I said, you'll actually make $60 going to the emergency room. And I usually crack some fantastic joke about there's better ways to make $60, right? And then Matt, the other thing is if you ride in an ambulance, it costs you $250. This one pays $200, right?
Yeah.
So, there goes your $60 that you just made. It's gone. Now, that and the observation. If you're in observation, it'll actually it'll cost you $300. It'll pay the $300. That costs you $28.95 a month. However, I would like to throw this on here. This is completely optional. It's a separate rider on this plan, but I would throw a $7,500 cancer plan on there. And here's why. The number one reason, hospital. Number 2 is kidney. Number 3 is cancer. Mm-hmm. It's said now that 1 in 2 men will have cancer, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and what I do here, I believe stories sell policies. I'll ask them, do you know anybody that's had cancer?
Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah. Right. How would it have affected them to have an extra $7,500 or to not have to pay any copays or deductibles? Right.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been life-changing.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. And then I tell my story. Why do I do $7,500? Here's why. Your MOOP is 32. 32 plus 32 is 6,400. So maybe I do 7,000 or 7,500, whatever. But what I'm looking to do is cover 2 years of the MOOP. And here's why. My personal story, I was diagnosed with cancer in September of 2017. I had chemo, my first bag of chemo, at the end of September 2017. When they hung that up there, I remember the nurse telling me, I asked her, how much does that cost? She said, son, if you've got a maximum, you just hit it. And I'm like, awesome, right? And my maximum was $5,000. Okay. Well, most chemo and radiation treatments last at least 6 months. So that gives me a 50-50 chance that I'm going to go into next year. So in January, guess what I got? Another $5,000 bill. So if your MOOP is $3,200, I want to make sure we cover that whole cancer treatment because you have a 50-50 shot of it rolling over into the next calendar year. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100% sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I say, and you're right. Stories say, I heard a story from an agent, been probably a month ago, and it was a similar, scenario where he had written somebody a hospital indemnity plan. And he's like, man, I went back and forth with him. Like, you need to put this cancer right on the agent. And the client was like, I don't want to. They finally put it on there and he wanted to cancel it later on. And he was like, listen, don't do that. Mm-hmm. The gentleman was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer and said, that policy, that rider, however big or small it is, was life-changing. And from that agent's perspective, because they educated their client, because they did have to do a little selling on that one. Like they kind of have to sell them on the idea of adding that to a $0 plan. But because he educated them on what it could do for him and how it could change his situation, it was life-changing for the client.
Yeah, we had a plan whenever I was diagnosed, and would we have made it without it? Because we had health insurance and all that stuff.
Sure.
Yes, we would have made it. But boy, it really allowed me, when I wasn't feeling well, I didn't have to worry about going into work. I was an agent at the time. I'm like, sure. You know what? If I don't write a policy this week, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I bought a truck with it because I'm a redneck. But other people, it allows you to do things. And man, I'm a big believer in adding the cancer rider, even other cancer plans and stuff like that. But I don't want to get off track. But having that cancer rider, it eliminates the big concerns. Mm-hmm. It eliminates the concern that I'm going to be out. Because the biggest fear that seniors have is I'm going to outlive my money.
Yes.
And medical costs are a huge concern when it comes to outliving their money.
Yeah.
Right? So I had that written down, eliminate the biggest concern. And then the last thing I'll talk about is checking back in with your clients regularly and making sure they know about it. So one thing I do is I tell them, okay, now here's how we use this because this is not going to collect automatically.
Sure.
Right?
That's what I was going to ask you. Can we talk about how hospital indemnity plans pay?
Yeah, and I talk about this at time of application.
Yeah.
I tell them, okay, here's how it's going to happen. If you go to the hospital, right, and you're in there for 3 days, your maximum out of pocket was $300. Okay? You are going to ask them for a I think it's called a WB04 form. It's been a minute since I asked for one. But you're going to ask them, basically, it is a detailed bill that shows what happened while you were in the hospital. You are going to bring that to me. We are going to fax that in or email that in to the hospital indemnity company. It's a separate company, right? I don't want to be misleading and say it's all a bundle and they have to. Sure. It's a separate company. We're going to email that in together. They're going to process it, and then they're going to send you a check. So if you're in there for 3 days, you're going to get a bill for $900. You show me that. We fax in the information. They're going to cut you a check for $900. You take that check and you pay your claim. And so it just makes sure, I love too, it involves you. A lot of agents don't want to be involved.
No.
They want to write the policy and then
go about their way.
Exactly. I want them to come to me so that they know, okay, if something happens, I'm going to go to Dallas. Dallas is going to help me out. You've seen a lot of agents. The agents that are successful are the ones that can name their clients, that know their clients. Talk about what an agent does that is a great agent that helps them go above and beyond and do stuff like this?
I mean, I think it's right there. Medicare is such a relationship game, and it is, it's a process of making your clients feel like they're more than just a number to you, like you are invested in them. You get to know who they are. And I have clients, 10 years ago, I have clients that I still talk to. I still get phone calls from because, I took the time to get to know them. I got to know their kids. Now, I didn't always get to know their kids on great terms because sometimes kids called and they were upset about things. But, had an opportunity to get to know the client. And, so agents who are having those long-standing, because Medicare, if somebody goes on Medicare at 65, they could be your client for a long time. They could be your client longer than you intend to be an agent.
Yeah.
Realistically, they could, they could outstay your career potentially.
Right.
Depending on when you come in. And so the importance of having that long-standing relationship is obviously the residual income, but it's just the opportunity to continue to serve and service them. The residual income will come through, renewals will come through, the opportunity for them to call you if they have problems. For you really to be a service. And this is just one great example of providing, educating them on a product and then helping them actually use that product. Yeah. Because, a lot of clients forget they have it.
For sure. I've had clients come in later and we've been doing the review. During AEP, they come back in. They're like, oh, yeah. I'll ask them, how was your plan? Oh, I went to the emergency room and rode in the ambulance, went to the emergency room, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Everything was fine. I'm like, hold on. I never heard from you. Did you? Oh, yeah, we've got that hospital indemnity plan.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there's no, I'll call the company and be like, does it expire? And they're like, no, send in the bill. And they'll cut them a check for $200, $300, $400 or whatever they're supposed to get. So they do forget, right?
Sure.
I want to finish with this. There are so many life insurance or Medicare agents in the country, thousands and thousands, and more people getting into it daily. They offer the same plan as you for the same price as you. The only way to set yourself apart is by doing something that sets you apart.
It's you.
Right? It's you. They buy you.
Yeah.
So, and you say, Dallas, so you're saying hospital indemnity plans it's an opportunity for you to add something that the last guy didn't.
Sure.
And talk about something the last guy didn't. So I'm a big believer in them. We sell a ton of them around here. And like I said, it's been a great benefit to our company.
Absolutely. Great benefit to a ton of clients. It's again, you're right. It's just one way to serve your clients potentially better than the last person.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you again for watching the Medicare Sales Playbook. We do appreciate y'all. And guys, like I said, every video, like, subscribe. I said last time, don't make fun of Matt's height. He's really, but no, and he is
sitting down. Can they see
down.
I'm sitting on a stool?
He is sitting down while I'm standing up.
I'll stand up. I'll set up straight here so you can see that.
All right. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, make fun of Matt, do whatever you want to do. But let us know what you want to be trained on. We love doing these trainings and helping you guys out. If you have problems writing hospital indemnity plans, reach out. We'll help you and show you some of the questions that we ask in order to get more hospital indemnity plans. So thank you guys for watching. Matt, thank you again, buddy. Always great to have you on here. And we will see you guys next week on the Medicare Sales Playbook.